Hello. I've been receiving information for a few weeks now in regards to relationships and changes and healing and everything that's happening connected to the evolution of consciousness and the changes that are going on in this world. And I've been preparing a master class, which at first was going to be one day. Then it started to expand out. And the energy was coming through today to have me share some information that you can take with you and you can do something with right now during these times of challenge and triggers and emotional upheavals, and empower you to have the awareness of what is really going on and how you can use choice as your superpower to heal the old pain, heal the trauma, heal the patterns, and break these cycles and actually catapult forward in your life. All right, so we're going to be talking about relationships and healing the pain and breaking the cycle. Now, when I talk about relationship triggers, what I mean is that great topic, right? Yeah. I've been going through it myself. I've had to take I've had to go deep. I've had to do some of exactly what I'm going to share with you here today. And I cannot emphasize enough that the journey within, and everything that I'm going to share with you tonight is so worth your time, energy, attention, effort, investment, whatever it is that you can really identify what the underlying core issue is so that you can move on with your life. So that's my intention tonight when I'm channeling through this information, that you not only get some actionable steps and intellectual understanding, but also receive the vibrational frequency that I'm sharing. And so, relationship triggers. So when I talk about that, what I'm talking about is like when something happens and you get upset, your feelings are hurt, old trauma is brought up from something that happens, and we get to this point right? So these emotional triggers, these that they come in through these relationships because we can't see for ourselves the old pain that we hold within or the beliefs that we hold about ourselves, because we've had these pains and these traumas through our past experiences. And some of the people that I work with, they come in with it from their past life stuff, and coming into this life to heal it, and not only heal it for ourselves, but in the exchanges that we have with other people. And, I believe it's a Rumi quote, is that, our job is not to seek love, but to, discover all of the barriers that we've built around it, built from allowing ourselves to have it. And even as I'm saying this, I feel like it's still an old approach because if you're always looking for what's wrong, you're always going to find something that's wrong. So if you shift your perspective to choice, what is it you really want, right? Now, these relationship triggers can come up. You can be making a choice that you want to have more money. You could be making a choice that you want to have more, a different home, or you want to get healthier. You want to, be more fit, or drop some weight, or have more energy, right? It's in the next level choices that what we get to see is in the way. Because if we're always looking, what's in the way, what's in the way, what's in the way, I will promise you, you will find something in the way. But when you are deciding that you really want something different for yourself, so you're putting more of your energy and attention onto creating something, and then that's what starts to come together through quantum physics, through intention, through your imagination, through your creative design as this, superhuman that you are. And what is in the way will naturally come up. Okay. Right now, there is a lot of activity happening with triggers inside relationships. And I see it right now very connected to this great awakening that we are all going through, this great awakening of this collective chaos, which is, from my perspective, the opportunity for each of us to see what is within us that we can no longer take with us. And one of the aspects are these relationships. They come in, we call them in subconsciously to come into our lives and to help us see the trauma that we still hold, the pain we still hold, the beliefs that we still hold. Because if you're trying to get to these next level experiences in your life, say you want to open up your business, say you want to start sharing your art, say you want to become more of a public speaker, if underneath that you don't believe that you're good enough, you are afraid that people are going to abandon you, you don't think that you're worthy enough, you're not going to be able to express yourself as freely as you want. You're not going to have the energy and have the container to be able to receive what it is that you're wanting to call in for yourselves. All right, so I'm getting off track here. Relationship triggers. Now, a lot of times what happens is that when we have trauma in our past, when we have pain in our past, when we have these breakups, when we have these, abuse, when we don't have the emotional capacity in a childhood to really understand what is happening, or even with the abuse, with the neglect, with these pains, we develop a couple of things. One of the things is we develop these beliefs about ourselves that say, I'm not important. I deserve to be treated this way. I shouldn't ask for what I want because it will trigger other people. I should try to be as quiet as I possibly can, not have any wants, not have any needs, so that others are upset. I said not important, not worthy, life is dangerous, right? So how many of us are or have been flying under the radar? And it's when you're ready to fly beyond, right? Beyond that, whatever's been in the way will come to the surface. Okay. So we have these opportunities when these relationships come and they hurt, and someone says something, or they don't do something that they said they were going to do, or you're in romantic relationships and you're seeing the same thing over and over again. I mean, for a good part of my life, there were these patterns of men who would cheat. Now, back in the day, before I knew any of this stuff, and I was in victim and I wasn't empowered, it would always be somebody else's fault. It would always be their fault. I would feel better if they did something different. I would feel better if they didn't cheat. I would feel better if they just loved me more. That was 1000% giving my power away to the thing outside of me. So if you are really ready to break these patterns of conditioning, of programming, of abuse, not worthiness, these limiting beliefs, if you are ready to transmute the pain, transmute the trauma, because it's all connected. We have these traumas, we have these pains, and then what happens is then we create beliefs about it. And then what we do is we create aspects of ourselves in order to survive these pains again. But what happens is that as you're growing through life, when you have these walls up, when you have these protective mechanisms in place, when you have these subconscious beliefs behind you, no matter what you are doing, no matter what effort that you are trying to put into something, you're going to self-sabotage. You're not going to allow yourself the money. You know, the money will come in and it'll have to go out because your car just crashed. You know, at every 3-month cycle, you find out that there's this awful thing about this person you've been dating for a while. You know, you keep weight off for a little while and then it comes back on again. And then you lose it and it comes back on again, right? Cycles and patterns, cycles and patterns. What I'm saying is that when you get to the core of what is operating, you can shift your entire life experience. So these relationships come in and they trigger. They trigger a pain. And if you're ready to break the pattern and dissolve the pain, it starts with you. This is radical responsibility. Taking 100% of your trigger. I've said, like, you know, your trigger is your treasure. You know, think of like a treasure chest. When you have this emotional response to something that's happened in your life or we're sticking to relationships right now, with another person, rather than point the finger, point the blame, give them your power, take responsibility. 100% responsibility is the thing that is going to break the patterns and dissolve the old pain. So, first thing you're going to do, okay, 100% responsibility. I just got triggered. Okay, back to me. Instead of trying to make them put the blame on them, okay, what is this for me? Start off, first thing. How am I feeling? How am I feeling? Okay, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling like I'm, not important. Stick to the facts. Stick to the facts, because this is, again, where you're going. So many people I see is like, well, they didn't call me back, so I almost swore. I don't know why I'm afraid to swear right now. They didn't call me back, so they're playing games with me. Or they didn't make the plan, so I'm not important. Or when I try to talk, they don't listen to me. When you stick to the facts and you take away the narrative, right? You just stick to the facts. They didn't call you back. They didn't do the thing, right? It's not that they didn't do the thing because you're not important. It's not that they didn't call you back because they're playing games with you. It's not that they didn't bring home flowers because they don't care about you. It's not that they didn't take out the trash because, they think you should do more around the house. Stick to the facts. Okay, first of all, how am I feeling? Secondly, stick to the facts. Okay? Because what you're going to do is you're going to pull away the narrative. You're going to pull away the excess drama that gets fed into these pains and patterns. Because what actually happens in these cycles, it's this really crazy thing that happens, is that it's like the thing that's actually getting in your way was created as a protective mechanism, a survival mechanism. And anything that you're doing to try to go beyond that, your system, your nervous system, your energy field, this mechanism pops in and says, danger, danger, alert, alert, and then pulls in these experiences. When you pull in the experiences, I feel like I'm repeating myself. I don't know who needs to hear this tonight. Holy mackerel. When you pull in these experiences, you can actually set yourself free from your choice. You can say, I'm going to take 100% responsibility about how I'm feeling right now, what I am making mean about this, discovering what belief I'm holding about the situation, and where is this in my body? You can literally break the patterns and put yourself on a completely different course. It does require you to be courageous. It does require you to be brave. It does require you to hold the frequency and the energy of that next level experience. This is what I talk about: alchemy, energy alchemy, emotional alchemy, chaos alchemy. is that while everything's happened, is that you are an alchemist and you could take what's happening and create change from it. So the flip side to, so let me just like point out like the steps, and then I think I'm going to be done. Essentially what happens, relationship, your feelings get hurt. You take 100% responsibility for how you feel, what you are making it mean, the belief, right? Because what happens is that all the triggers, so going back to the aspects and those protective mechanisms, we create beliefs. We create beliefs, and then what happens is that we just start operating from that space from a subconscious level, right? So a belief is just something that you think over and over again. So the challenge with these relationship triggers right now is that they're coming in and they are triggering these protective mechanisms that we've built. And it feels really scary to let the walls down. It feels really scary to let those relationships go. It feels really scary to speak your truth. It feels really scary to ask for your needs to be met, when underlying there are beliefs that you're not worthy, that you're not important, that you'll be abandoned, annihilated if you ask for what you need. You know, there's a lot of shame programming and guilt programming under having needs met. I mean, that's why I'm like, okay, some of this has to come through tonight, but I really feel like this needs to be a masterclass so we can dive a little bit deeper. And these surges of energy are going to keep coming through and supporting us and releasing these densities. We are being guided to live an integrated life with the fuller aspect of who we are, the essence, our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it, integrated into this human experience. And what's happening is life is reflecting back the densities that we hold within that need to be released so that more of who we are can be living through this physical vessel. Your body is a channel of consciousness. And here's the thing. Not everybody is on this journey. Not everybody is headed where you're headed. So what I see is that in these relationship triggers, people are actually being invited to let go of relationships that are no longer serving them, to release the relationships that are having the same pattern as the abusive parent, that are having the same pattern as the ex who betrayed you, having the same pattern of, you know, the not enoughness. But the tricky thing is that is sometimes, a lot of times, the pain, that painful place, that pattern, that limitation, the programming, the conditioning is more familiar and comfortable than the next level experience. Believe it or not, like being in love, being loved, allowing yourself to receive, allowing yourself to be seen, allowing yourself to be your authentic self with other people, allowing yourself to be vulnerable is triggering to a lot of people. So look at it this way. If you are too afraid to ask for what you need, want, desire, to hold strong to your standards and values inside of a relationship exchange, that is going to play out in other areas of your life. If you can't allow love, it's going to be challenging to receive money. If you're afraid to be seen, it's going to be challenging for you to be expressing yourself in your business, online, in your art. The energies, it's like they're speeding up. And where it feels like you're maybe getting like slapped around, like this is what I used to, sometimes I would feel like I'm like, oh my God, I feel like a loose figure inside a snow globe, right? It's like a snow globe. I'm being tossed around. What the hell, life? Until, go in, okay, what am I really feeling? I'm feeling afraid. I'm not feeling enough. I'm feeling like I'm not important. Okay. What do I believe about what's happening? Right? What am I saying? What am I saying about what's happening? So getting rid of the narrative, sticking to the facts. You're going to identify the belief from there. And then the last piece, and I feel like I was all over in this video, guys, but the last piece is the around in this 100% responsibility piece is, where is it in my body? Because our body is what holds these protective mechanisms. Our body is what holds, yo, Robert, what's up? Our body is what holds these walls, these patterns of trauma. What we do is we try not to go beyond the spaces as to not get triggered. It's like, until you really choose. This is why I say choice is your superpower, because a lot of people will say, oh, I want a relationship. I want more money. I want to run my business. I want to like show up more online. I want to like, they want all this next level stuff. They could say it, and it's easy to say it. It's so easy to say it. I want the thing. I want it. I want it. The universe isn't giving it to me. Well, you haven't chosen it, because when you choose it, life is going to show you all of the things that are in the way. And this is where this is what I'm sharing with you today. 100% responsibility. What do you feel? I take away the meaning. What belief is there? Where am I holding it in my body? So when you've had past trauma, when you've had past pain, and you've developed these safety survival mechanisms, your nervous system doesn't know the difference so much. Whew. All right, I'm feeling a lot of energy move through right now. Take a deep breath with me. Some heart clearing stuff happening right now. Also some right ear stuff. It's like we don't necessarily need to know what we're letting go of. We don't need to know what belief we're letting go of. It's all energy. And so what I was saying about your nervous system doesn't necessarily know the difference between fear and excitement. If you think about it, it feels the same, right? But what is the difference? The difference is what you make mean about it. It's what you decide about it, right? But until you clear the density out of your nervous system, every time you try to do some, be more vulnerable in your relationship, or even just decide that you're going to put yourself out there to have a relationship, or you're going to be more of your authentic self, or you're going to open yourself up to allow more love, your nervous system can kick in and say, danger, danger, danger. Now you're not going to get like a warning system like that, but distractions will come into your life. Your car will break down, or suddenly your friend is going through a traumatic, or not so much, of course you want to be there for your friend that's going through trauma, but like, some friend drama comes up. So it's like your nervous system not wanting to get triggered will start to create distractions around you, so you can actually divert yourself from showing up more authentically, more vulnerably, asking for what you want, opening yourself up to love. So this is all multifaceted, and I really hope that you guys are getting something from this today, because it really is not a simple topic. But if today you take anything away from what I'm sharing with you, is that when you are emotionally triggered inside relationship, take 100% responsibility for how you're feeling, the meanings that you're making of things, the beliefs, and where it is in your body. And the flip side of this, I feel like this is really important too. So now you're deciding I'm going to be 100% responsible. I get emotionally triggered. I'm going to go inside myself and I'm going to find out what's going on for me. What do I need? What am I making it mean? How do I feel? Where am I feeling it? Right? Do not take on anybody else's projections. Do not take on, someone else's pain. Like, meaning somebody's yelling at you. You made me feel this way. You didn't call me back. You're playing games with me. You're fucking with my head. It's like, no. In relationship, we can have standards and we can have values and we can have agreements, right? But I am not responsible for anybody else's emotions or triggers. I mean, obviously, if I'm blatantly being a jerk, well then yeah, I'm responsible for that, right? But if I didn't return your text message and you're telling me that I'm fucking with your head, that's yours, right? And so we all get to decide how we want to participate in relationships and how, like if a friend of mine says, well, we can only be friends if you just wear like a pink tutu anytime we go out. I'm going to have to think about that. I don't know. I might be able to rock a pink tutu, but it may not be something that I'm going to choose to participate in. And then we can have a conversation and we can come to some kind of compromise, but I'm not going to compromise myself. I'm not going to throw myself under the bus so that you feel better. Right? I'm not going to take on your emotional trigger so that you feel better. And this is where it gets a little tricky, guys. It can all be really tricky. Because sometimes that inner child in us that doesn't want to be abandoned, that doesn't want to be alone, that is afraid to like ask for the needs, is the part that settles inside these limiting relationships. And then what happens is that the discord of what you really want and what you are really in and who you really are, but who you're really showing up as is just too muddled and it just gets to be too much. It starts to affect your health. It starts to affect your mindset. It will show up in your money. It will show up in your other relationships. It'll show up in your health. It'll show up in your weight. There's part of my journey. I was 100 pounds heavier than I am right now. And that was because I was holding on to a lot of trauma that I hadn't processed. I was holding on to a lot of pain, and it was protecting me. It was protecting me for lots of reasons, but anytime that I would lose weight, I would gain it back because it was my protective mechanism. But when I did the inner work, that's when I was able to keep the weight off. And that's when my relationship changed. And that's when I allowed myself to be more seen and be loved and receive and allow. So if you are looking outside of yourself to feel better, to have someone behave differently so that you can feel better, and that is very different than having standards and values, then you are giving your power to outside of yourself. And what I'm saying to you right now is you have the absolute power to create change in your life, release old pain, because these old pain patterns, they don't just show up in relationships. Your relationships right now are going to show you. But it's like a bicycle wheel, right? It's like if one of the spokes is dented, right? So let's say the worthiness spoke is dented. It's going to throw off all areas of your life. That makes sense? It's like a bumpy tire, right? What I'm seeing happen is that life is inviting all of us to show up as our best selves and to allow the life that we say that we want to have come through us. And it starts with 100% personal responsibility. And as I was saying, it gets a little tricky, right? Because of those old traumas, those old pains, the abuse and the beliefs and the survival mechanisms that we created in order to move through the painful experience. But now as we're emerging, now as like life is calling us forth more, now as we're being guided to be a fuller expression of who we are as these souls in a human body, however you want to call it for yourself, who we aren't, these lies, these old beliefs, these old pains, they got to go. The density has to go. Robert says, I've taken on other people's shit for so long. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. This is when I talk about conditioning, that is like conditioning, where, in childhood, if you grew up with parents who were in unresolved trauma, parents who were anxious, parents who just were not emotionally responsible, as children, especially sensitives and empaths, we tend, in order to bring either peace or to survive, to get along, to have our needs met, we take on other people's stuff. So now as we become into adulthood, that pattern of taking on people's stuff doesn't work anymore, because it's the same thing over and over again. And you got to stop blaming the person who's coming into your life, dumping their stuff on you, because you're allowing it. The tricky part is, and your opportunity is doing the inner healing work to that part of you, that inner child part of you that's afraid to not take on other people's stuff because you don't know anything different. Is it safe to not take on people's stuff? Will I survive? Will anybody love me if I'm not taking on their stuff? Right? It's all these inner layers that happen. I think I'm just tuning in right now to see if there's anything else that needs to come through. So this is what's coming through, is that your emotional response is your responsibility, and someone else's emotional response is their responsibility. And it's also your indicator that something within you is off. Something within you is trying to get your attention. And when I say off, meaning it's not lined up with what it is that you say you want for yourself, right? You want a deeper relationship, you want love, you want intimacy, you authenticity, vulnerability, right? But if you have inner mechanisms that say it's not safe, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, if I open myself up, I'll be abandoned, I'll be left, if I stop taking on other people's shit, then I won't be loved, my only value is if me doing things for others, right? So your system, body, mind, energy, is going to let you know when there is an incongruency from what is true for the divine being that you are versus what you're holding on to. Going through these really uncomfortable experiences, it doesn't necessarily have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that painful. It's actually more painful to try to not get hurt than it is to actually just take what's happening, take the responsibility for it, and go in and be fully present with what is coming up. Because it's like these triggers come up, right? What is the normal human experience? That person's a jerk, they're an idiot, cancel culture, I'm not talking to them anymore, bye, right? How often are we cutting ties with people when we're actually have the opportunity, to have the conversation? We may end the relationship after a conversation. We may say, you know what, your values, your desires of me wearing a pink tutu just isn't going to work for me. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make me wrong, but we're just going to go our separate ways, right? So the point is, that the human response, because it feels like danger, because it could feel like annihilation, because your nervous system is whack, because you have these mental programs that say defend, defend, alert, leave, fight, flight, freeze, that's where those, it happens over and over again. And what we do is we try not to feel it. We numb it out. We push it away. We distract ourselves. We blame. We put blame. We give the responsibility. We give our power to the people outside of us. It is the most liberating thing for you to be able to like stop, pause, go inside. Because what happens is that you're no longer spending the rest of your life trying to push this, inflated beach ball under the surface of, keep it under the water. It can be uncomfortable sometimes. It doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to take a long time. It actually takes longer by avoiding it than it does from really facing it. Your mind will tell you that it's going to be hard, it's going to be too scary, and this is why I do the work with people, so that we can hold hands and lock arms and like go into those hard, dark spaces, do the energy and emotional alchemy work, and then step into that space of freedom. Because when you let go of those inner patterns, when you let go of the inner pain, when you drop those walls around your heart, when you integrate the lessons from your experiences, and you resolve the inner child pain, and you actually, give back to people the stuff that you've taken on for them, you actually have more space to let greater frequencies, higher levels of consciousness come through you, right? So I talk about, like thinking about life as a radio station, where the experience that you want is on another radio, we'll say 105.9, but you're vibing at 95.7 because you're trying to be a good girl, you're still playing out in the victim, you're putting blame on other people, you're taking on, other people's stuff at 93.7. In order to get to 105.9, where you're valued, where you're loved, where you're being paid well for what you do, when you, when you have real intimate, authentic relationships, you got to, it's about tuning your mind and your consciousness, right? So it's like clearing out the density so that the greater can move through you. And I cannot express enough that your time, energy, attention, investment in going in is so valuable, and you are worthy of it. It is so liberating in the chunk of time that it takes, in comparison to trying to hold that beach ball down for the rest of your life. Clients that I work with, when we do this inner work, right? I share it. I've lost and kept off 100 pounds. They lose the density. They lose weight, and it's not even trying hard. More money starts flowing in. At one point in my career, I was solely focused on being a love coach. I was a love coach. I was helping people clear what their inner beliefs were about love, helping them, prepare their mind, but also their body to be able to receive the love that they were searching for. And through those years I was doing it, it always came down to the inner work. And so, just like when that little spike of that bicycle wheel is dented, when you fix it, when you straighten it out, things start running smoother all of your life. Because not only on 105.9 is, say, the intimate partnership that you're desiring, where you could show up as your most authentic, vulnerable self and feel safe, asking for what you want, allowing the love that you want. But there are also other amazing things there, other friendships, other opportunities. All about this great awakening is, us like releasing the inner densities and allowing the true essence of who we are to be expressed through. And rather than looking at relationships as, it's their fault, and if they would behave differently, then you could feel better, and flipping that around, taking responsibility, You actually are empowered to release the old pains, the old traumas, the old patterns, and allow more of what you say that you want for yourself in. I see a lot of people online are like, I'm so confused about my purpose. I don't know what I should be doing with my life. Well, it's like, or like money comes and then money goes. Or I create this great program, but I never launch it. It's never so much about the action as it is about the internal. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, which is probably like the fifth last thing that I was going to leave you with tonight, is that, this is, I love this, really, is that the relationship that you have with yourself is going to be reflected in the relationships that you have with others. So when you get triggered by somebody, by them doing something or not doing something or saying something, ask yourself, where am I doing that to myself? Where have I not given myself what I want somebody else to give me? Where have I not done for myself what it is that I say that I want to do or I want somebody else to do? Right? Where am I treating myself the same way that I'm in pain around the way that they treated me? Because when you shift the relationship with you, your world shifts. Your world shifts and changes to match you where you're at on that radio station frequency. I think that's it. No questions. So good. I'm so glad that you guys received something this today. It's go time right now. It's go time. Life is changing. It's moving really fast. We are empowered to be able to have the experiences that we want based on taking 100% responsibility and really taking a look at what is happening inside these relationships and what is reflecting back to us for us so that we can be liberated from the old lies, the old beliefs, the pain and the trauma, and finally and freely be able to have the life experiences that we desire. And what I'll tell you right now is that you may have an idea in your mind what you want your life to look like or your relationships to look like, but the more that you surrender and allow it to move through you, it's very much likely not going to look like what you think it is. And the more you can open yourself up to what it might look like, the more amazing it gets to be. This is why I talk about #unfuckyourmind. Yeah. We are way more powerful than we've been taught.